If you've heard a lot of talk about hiring virtual assistants and you're considering doing this yourself, but you've got questions around how to make this a win-win for you and the new employee that you're about to hire, in this video, I want to talk about creating a good culture and how to build rapport and connection with these virtual assistants or overseas employees, because you're working virtually and you don't get to have the water cooler conversations that we have here when you're working in a physical space with somebody. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. The last side note before we get to the hiring process, building a strong virtual culture. So this is something that...
That's how you retain your people.
Yeah, you can get someone, but then when you have several VAs, I guess I'll kick this off to Natalie. What do you feel like, and this has not only been our thoughts, but things that we have heard from our employees that have said, what do they like about how we're operating as opposed to other virtual jobs they've had?
Yeah, so this came to us a bit organically because for the life of our business, the majority of the life of our business, you and I have been the only two stateside employees. And even if we've had others that have been involved, it's always been virtual, even in the US. And so we organically were like, well, we want to make sure that we're building community and we're getting to know these employees and things like that. And then we got the feedback that that was actually really great and not necessarily expected from a lot of our VAs. And so one of the things that we do is team meetings. And like I said, sometimes that can be tricky with scheduling, but so valuable to do it at least every couple of weeks. Because in that time, that's where we make sure that everybody knows everyone's role in the company and who they need to be asking for what, because they're likely not getting together and meeting in person either. So that's really valuable. The second component of that is we started implementing icebreakers. Chris can say he thought this was pretty dumb. Like, why are we wasting 20 minutes of our 60-minute meeting that we have every 2 weeks to talk about what you would do if you had to climb a giant mountain or something?
I was like, I'm a big fan of being silly and playing, but I vividly remember in the first couple meetings, Natalie was like, all right, if it was a zombie apocalypse, what would be your number one skill that you provide to the team? And I was just like, okay, this is kind of funny, but also I've got a lot of stuff to do. And I don't know if this is the best use of this, small amount of time that we're trying to get them up to speed on what's going on in the business. But yeah, tell everyone what we heard after the fact.
Yeah, it turns out people like talking to people. So having that opportunity to get to know each other and loosen up and get to see each other's natural personalities was really valuable to us, and also something that most of our employees hadn't experienced. And so as far as retention, they're like, hey, I feel like I'm much more involved. One thing that we've moved away from is really talking about anyone as a consultant or as a contractor or anything that implies that it's kind of transient. Like, they are a part of our team, whether they're part-time or full-time. We want to make sure they know that they're part of the team. And so that was something that came out in these icebreaker conversations, was like, hey, we're going to be around for a while together, so let's get to know each other.
Yeah, and I would say if you've ever run a team of any kind, a team building specialist would tell you like how critical it is to have just like play and icebreakers and breaking down.
You had a recent interview about the importance of play.
Yeah,
right?
And it's like literally one of the things that I would guarantee has happened. And this whole topic is going to be most applicable to people that have multiple virtual assistants. But the idea of the coolest feeling in the world is when we had several of our employees like identify an issue, talk to each other, solve the issue, and then we didn't know about
Without
it
us, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know about it until the next meeting, and they're like, oh, this thing happened, and I was like, wait, did you talk to Natalie? And Natalie was like, did you talk to Chris? And they're like, no, we just figured this out. And it's like, you're so much more like, this is again just a silly thing that I'm willing to admit. You think like, it's like when you meet someone from any country on earth, like, oh, you're from Germany? I had a friend that's from Germany. Do you know him?
All Germans are exactly the same.
It's like the exact same thing of like, oh, you went to, like Florida State University. I had a friend that went to Florida State. Like, that's absurd that there's 20,000 people, let alone millions of people. They don't know each other. Like, the statistical likelihood of that is impossible. Mm-hmm. But I thought that because I have an employee in the Philippines, that they're just going to like, go meet at a coffee shop and like get lunch together and stuff. Like they're could
like
live
10 hours away from each other.
It's incredible. And so this little like dialogue that we're facilitating is the only interaction that they're having with each other. We might feel like we're really close with each individual employee, but it's important to remember that unless you're telling them, go schedule virtual coffees with each other or go play a game or whatever. Like they're literally never talking to each other, and you can't expect them to go from that to then like, hey, I have a problem. Can you help me solve this?
Yeah, and we also did a virtual escape room, which was amazing, and we need to schedule another one. And I think the value of that, which was completely unexpected for me, is you can give employees or bosses, you can give them like a DISC assessment, the working genius assessment. There's all kinds of ways that you can find out like how they operate and how they deal with stress and things like that. But doing an escape room was amazing and just illuminating everyone's personality traits and like how they want to be involved in the process. It just happened totally organically because it was completely fun and playful, and there wasn't any like work pressure associated with it. And it was very, very cool as a way to develop a strong team culture to put people in that situation.
And I would say
even if maybe a couple of them were stressed and hated it.
But I think they all would say we do it again.
It was good, yeah.
And the last thing, if you hadn't, I don't know if you said this or not, but after you start doing a little bit of this, just asking for feedback in your bi-weekly meeting. Hey, how are we doing? What do you guys like? What do you not like? What should we do more of? Is going to be surprising with what they tell you. Thanks so much for watching. If this was valuable, this is actually part of a longer conversation that Natalie and I had about hiring virtual assistants. We went through our entire process. I always like to say, people are like, why do you care so much about this? We literally just found so much value in hiring overseas talent that we wanted to share everything that worked well, didn't work well. I feel like there's a lot of agencies out there. There was a lot of fear that we had on like, can we do this without the help of an agency? And the answer is yes, you can. And this is us giving away all the things that worked for us. So if this is valuable, please like the video. If you're a painter, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next video.